And he entered the city. Musa alayhi salam, when he had reached full strength, he was mentally mature, he entered the city at a time of inattention by its people, and found therein two men fighting. One from his faction, meaning the Bani Israel, and one from among his enemy, meaning the people of Fir'aun. And the one from his faction called for help to him against the one from his enemy. So Musa a.s. helped him. And in that, he struck the other person and unintentionally killed him. And this shows the strength of Musa a.s., how strong he was that he just gave him one blow and the other man, he died. So Musa a.s. said, this is from the work of shaitan. This is from the work of shaitan. Fighting and killing, this is from the work of shaitan. Indeed, he is a manifest, misleading enemy. What does this mean? That when people are fighting, then participating in that fight, and in that process, killing one another, this is whose work? Shaitan's work. When people are fighting, then what is it that we need to do? Solve the problem. Solve that fight. Not that we start taking sides immediately and start beating each other up, because this will lead to more violence. So Musa a.s., because he was a muhsin, he liked helping people. Over here he was called, and over here we see فَاسْتَغَاثَهُ. فَاسْتَغَاثَهُ. Istighatha is to really call out in desperation, like, really desperately calling out for help. That if you don't help me, I'm going to die. So Musa a.s., he just responded to him. He helped him. And in defending him, he hit the other man. And when he hit him once, that man died. قَالَ رَبِّ إِنِّي ظَلَمْتُ نَفْسِي. Musa a.s. said, my Lord, indeed I have wronged myself. فَاغْفِرْ لِي. So forgive me. What happened? فَغَفَرَ لَهُ. And Allah forgave him. إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْغَفُورُ الرَّحِيمُ. Indeed, He is forgiving and merciful. This is true regret. That when a person makes a mistake, and it's an accident, could be a really big mistake, like murdering someone accidentally. Realizing that, my Lord, I have done wrong against myself. I need your forgiveness, so you forgive me. And Allah forgave him. We learned that once Ali radiallahu anhu, he sat on his ride, his mount, and when he put his foot in the stirrup, as he was getting on, he said, Bismillah. When he sat on the back of the animal, he said, Alhamdulillah. Meaning when he sat, then he said, Alhamdulillah. So as he was getting up, Bismillah. Once he sat, Alhamdulillah. And then he said, Subhanalladhi sakhara lana hada, wa ma kunna lahu muqrinin, wa inna ila rabbina lamunqalibun. And then he said, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Subhanaka inni zalamtu nafsi faghfir li fa innahu la yaghfiru dhunuba illa anta. That perfect are you, O Allah, I have wronged myself, so forgive me, for indeed none forgives sins except you. And then Ali radiallahu anhu, he laughed. So somebody who was there with him, they asked him, Ali radiallahu anhu, why did you do that, Ya Amirul Mu'mineen? Why did you laugh? He said, I only did what I saw the Prophet ﷺ doing. I saw him getting on his ride like this, and he said these words, the exact words that I have said, and then once he said this dua, he smiled. So I also asked him, Ya Rasulullah, why are you smiling? Why are you laughing? And he replied that your Lord Most High is pleased with His servant when he says, اغفر لي ذنوبي. When a servant says, Oh my Lord, forgive me my sins, then Allah is pleased with him. He knows that no one forgives sins except Him. And when a servant says that, realizing that only Allah can forgive my sins, then Allah is amazed at that. And He becomes happy with the servant. In another hadith we learned, the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah is amazed at His servant when he says, La ilaha illa anta, inni qad zalamtu nafsi, faghfir li dhunubi, innahu la yaghfiru dhunuba illa anta. That there is no God but you, O Allah. I have wronged myself, so forgive me my sins, for none forgives sins except you. Allah says, my servant has known that his Lord can forgive him, and He can also punish him. My servant has known that. So Musa a.s., his dua over here, فَاغْفِرْ لِي. Oh my Lord, إِنِّي ظَلَمْتُ نَفْسِي فَاغْفِرْ لِي. And this is such a beautiful thing that we learn from here. Anytime a mistake happens, This is not a small mistake. Killing someone, it was an accident. It was unintentional, but it happened. And many times we also make mistakes unintentionally. Unintentionally. So what should be done over there? We should get angry with ourselves and get depressed and sad. Yes, we are sad. Yes, we do get angry with ourselves. But what we truly need to do is seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Lighten your heart by seeking Allah's forgiveness. فَغَفَرَ لَهُ. And look at how quickly the forgiveness came. فَغَفَرَ لَهُ. قَالَ رَبِّ بِمَا أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيَّ فَلَنْ أَكُونَ ظَهِيرًا لِلْمُجْرِمِينَ. He said, "Oh my Lord, for the favor that you bestowed upon me, I will never be an assistant to the criminals." That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala concealed his sin. Nobody found out. Nobody found out. So what happened? Musa a.s. said, "Oh my Lord, you concealed my sin, so I will never ever help the criminals again." This is tawbah. That a person seeks forgiveness for what he did, and then he promises never to do it again. But what happens? When you promise that you'll never repeat the mistake, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put you in that situation and test you to see what you're going to do. So Musa a.s. was also tested over here. And he became inside the city fearful and anticipating exposure. He was afraid that people will find out. When suddenly the one who sought his help the previous day cried out to him once again. Now he was fighting another guy. And this time he called out to Musa, يَسْتَصْرِخُهُ. Right? يَسْتَصْرِخُهُ. يَسْتَصْرِخُهُ. It's basically to scream out for help. He was screaming out, making a scene. Musa a.s. said to him, "Indeed, you are an evident, persistent deviator. What's wrong with you? Again you're fighting? Yesterday you were fighting somebody else. Today you're fighting somebody else. What are you doing?" And when he wanted to strike the one who was an enemy to both of them, he said, meaning the man who called Musa a.s. for help, who was fighting the previous day and this day again, he said, "O Musa, do you intend to kill me as you killed someone yesterday?" So you see what happened? Musa a.s. helped him the day before, and now what is he doing? He's exposing Musa a.s. You only want to be a tyrant in the land and do not want to be of the amenders. He's making Musa a.s. look so bad. And like this, the news spread immediately, and a man came from the farthest end of the city, running. He said, "O Musa, indeed the eminent ones," meaning the leaders, "they are conferring over you, intending to kill you. So leave the city. Indeed, I am to you of the sincere advisors. Just run, go. They're coming to get you, and they're going to kill you. So if you want to stay alive, just leave." So Musa a.s. left the city, fearful and anticipating apprehension. He was afraid. He didn't know what was going on. They might come after him. قَالَ رَبِّ نَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. He said, "My Lord, save me from the wrongdoing people." Because this was an accident. It wasn't deliberate that Musa a.s. did this. Right? But they weren't willing to even overlook Musa a.s.'s mistake. Because you see, Musa a.s., he was from the Bani Israel. And he was raised in the house of Fir'aun. But you can imagine that when someone is not from the family, even if he has lived in that family, is he treated differently? Oh yeah. He's treated differently. So Musa a.s., yes, his life was saved because he grew up in the house of Fir'aun. But he lived through a lot of bias, of animosity, jealousy. He faced it a lot. Like there are many stories we learn about Fir'aun trying to harm Musa a.s. Like for example, it is said that at one point he let Musa a.s., as when he was still a child, put coal in his mouth. And because of that, Musa a.s. couldn't speak clearly. Right? So, it's a story. Allahu A'lam if it's true or not. But what these stories suggest is that Musa a.s., even though he grew up in the house of Fir'aun, he wasn't raised as a prince. He wasn't. He was always treated differently. And now this was the chance where they could get rid of Musa a.s. You understand? So this is why Musa a.s. he said, رَبِّ نَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. You see over here, Musa a.s. is talking to Allah again. He made a mistake. He asked Allah for forgiveness. Allah covered his mistake. He said, "Oh my Lord, I'm never going to do this again." Now that he's running to save his life, he says, "Oh my Lord, you save me, you protect me." Those who love Allah, they talk to Allah at every step. They're talking to their Lord. And when he directed himself toward Madian, he said, "Perhaps my Lord will guide me." You see now, the trust is upon who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Perhaps my Lord will guide me to the sound way, some place, some destination. I don't know where, but Allah's going to take me somewhere. Tawakkal ala Allah. And when he came to the well of Madian, he found there a crowd of people watering their flocks. And he found, aside from them, 2 women driving back their flocks. He said, "What is your circumstance?" Meaning, how come you're keeping your animals away from the water? Why won't you let them go and drink? And how come you're here anyway? You see, Musa a.s., is he in trouble himself? Right now, is he? Yes, he is. Does he have money with him? Probably not, because he had to leave within moments. He just left and ran to save his life. What did he have with him? Hardly anything. Now in a situation like this, when we ourselves are needy, do we think about the need of other people? No, we generally don't. What distinguishes a muhsin is the fact that even when he is needy, he is concerned about the need of others. Like we learned the other day, that the person who is not grateful for a little, he cannot be grateful for a lot. So a person who cannot avail small opportunities, then he cannot avail big opportunities either. So what happened over here? Musa a.s. sees something unusual over here. So he gets up and he goes to them and he asks them, that what's going on? How come you're not watering your animals? They said, "We do not water until the shepherds leave. And our father is an old man." In other words, we don't go in the midst of men in order to water our animals. We wait for these shepherds to go. When they're gone, then we take our animals to the water hole so that they can drink. And we have to do this because our father is an old man and he cannot do it himself. What do we see over here? That the women are working in the field of men. Aren't they? They are. However, they are working without mixing with the men. This is something we need to remember. No matter where we are working, no matter where we are, even if we go shopping, all right? Even if we are going to school, university, workplace, wherever it is, whatever kind of work it is, as long as it's halal, it's fine. But what we need to make sure, what we really need to be careful about is not mixing with the men. Not mixing with the men means that when there's a man, who's doing something, and you need to do the same work, don't go and stand right next to him so that by accident you fall into him or he falls into you. No. Keep your distance. Maintain your distance. Don't mix with them. فَسَقَى لَهُمَا. So Musa a.s., he didn't say, "Okay," and then he just went back and sat down. No. He didn't just hear out their problem. Because what's the point of hearing out somebody's problem if you're not going to help them? He's helping them. So he watered their flocks for them. Why? Because if they waited for the shepherds to leave, then what would happen? The water hole would be empty. By the time their turn would come, there would hardly be any water left. All right? So what happened? Musa a.s. watered their flocks for them. Then he went back to the shade and he said, "Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin faqir." Oh my Lord, indeed I am for whatever good you would send down to me in need. Notice over here, he does not ask the girls for compensation. He doesn't say, "Okay, now you give me 1 sheep." No, he only asks Allah. When a person is alone and no one can help him, no one, then calling upon Allah in this situation brings a delight that is unmatched. You see, sometimes you are put in a situation where you alone are suffering from your problem. No one can share that problem with you. You cannot even reach out to somebody for help. And even if you can, nobody can help you. Nobody can. So at that time when you call upon Allah, because Musa a.s. is all alone here, right? Who is he calling upon? Allah. Then this is something that brings comfort and delight and joy that nothing else brings. So be grateful to Allah for these moments when every sabab is cut off and you are left to yourself to call upon Allah alone. And Musa a.s., he called upon Allah. Look at the beautiful dua. Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin faqir. Ya Allah, I am needy. He's showing humility. I am faqir. I'm desperate for anything, any help that you send my way. He's not asking the girls for a compensation. No, he's asking Allah for compensation. And what happened? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala immediately responded to him. This dua, Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin faqir. So many times we also make it. And many times people make it, especially if they're looking for a spouse. And they make it over and over and over and over again. But what happens? We see that our du'as are not accepted. How come Musa a.s.'s dua was accepted over here? Because it was from the heart. He really, truly begged Allah. And he really showed that, Ya Allah, I need from you. I don't need benefit from people. And we see over here that another reason why his dua is accepted is because in his state of neediness, he didn't forget the people around him. He saw people in need. If he could help them, he helped them. And when he helped them, Allah helped him. In a hadith we learn that the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever removes a worldly grief from a believer, Allah will remove from him one of the griefs of the day of resurrection. And whoever alleviates the need of a needy person, Allah will alleviate his needs in this world and the hereafter. Whoever shields or hides the sins of a Muslim, then Allah will shield him in this world and the hereafter. And Allah will aid his slave so long as he aids his brother. So long as he aids his brother. So when we need help from Allah, what do we need to do? Start helping those who are around us. And don't wait for others to call us for help. No. Look at other people. Take interest in them and see what help do they need. Because sometimes we say, oh, how come you never asked me? Well, don't you know what they're going through? Right? I mean, later on we ask people, oh, if you were in need, how come you didn't ask me? Well, the fact is that once you know that somebody is going through a particular situation, you see them, it's quite obvious they need help. Don't wait for them to call. Don't wait for them to ask. Be good to others. Show them mercy, and Allah will show mercy in return to you. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Min afdalil a'mal," of the best deeds is to put a smile on the face of a believer. To put a smile on the face of a believer. To pay off his debt. To fulfill some of his needs. Or remove some hardship from him. So if we want our problems to go away, then what do we need to do? Help remove the problems of other people. Then one of the two women came to him walking with shyness. One of the girls came how? Walking with shyness. Because shyness is from Iman. You see, the prophets of Allah, even they were the most shy of all people. The Prophet ﷺ, it is described, Anas radhiallahu anhu said that he was a very shy person. Very shy person. She said, "Indeed, my father invites you, that he may reward you for having watered for us. He wants to pay you." Now the fact is that Musa a.s. never really asked for a payment. But this family was also very, you can say, dignified, that they didn't take this help for free. Right? They wanted to pay back. So when he came to him and related to him the story, he said, "Fear not, you have escaped from the wrongdoing people." Meaning, don't worry, no one will come after you over here. You're safe. This is how you help somebody. So the father of those two girls, he's helping Musa a.s. How? Firstly, he's comforting him. How? That before offering any food or payment, right, or anything else, what is he doing? He is saying comforting words to him. And this is what people need the most. Comforting words, kind words, empathy. This is what they want. That at least you understand my situation. So you see over here that the father of those two girls is comforting Musa a.s. Fear not. You have escaped from the wrongdoing people. No one's going to come here after you. One of the women said, "Oh my father, hire him." Meaning he's got no place to go. And he's all by himself. Why don't you hire him? Indeed, the best one you can hire is the strong and the trustworthy. Meaning he's good at what he does. And he's also trustworthy. He's reliable. Because he didn't run off with the flock. right? When He watered the flock for us, He returned the animals to us. He didn't take them away. So He's trustworthy. So the father said, indeed, I wish to wed you one of these, my 2 daughters. He said this to who? Musa a.s. On the condition that you serve me for 8 years. Because think about it. Now, if he's going to keep Musa a.s. in his house, if he's going to hire him, definitely there is going to be interaction between him and his daughters. So why would he keep a young man in his house while he had 2 young girls? You understand? Why would he do that? And this is something that we need to remember also. That sometimes we have relatives or certain friends staying in the house while we have adult children, all right? And then they're also non-mahram. The guests are non-mahram. I mean, if it's just for a day or 2, that's a different story. But for a long term, this is something that's not appropriate. Right? It's not appropriate. So we see the wisdom of this man over here, that he says, you can marry one of my 2 daughters. And yes, you don't have to give her any mahar. All right? The mahar will be that you have to work for me for 8 years. We will hire you for 8 years. But if you complete 10, it will be as a favor from you. And I do not wish to put you in difficulty. I'm not forcing you. It's totally up to you. But if you do choose to stay with us, then you will find me, if Allah wills, from among the righteous. We will have a good time. Musa a.s. said, that is established between me and you. Whichever of the 2 terms I complete, there is no injustice to me. And Allah over what we say is witness. Meaning, I agree, we'll see if I do 8 years or 10 years. Now what we see in this part of the story is really the manhood of Musa a.s. His character. That firstly, the fact that he protected, he helped the women. Even though they were complete strangers. But the fact that he went forward and helped the women, he didn't just leave the women to their work, he's helping them, shows that yes, Musa a.s., he was really a good man. And then secondly, we see his haya, that he didn't chase the girls, right? After watching their animals, he didn't go after them. He didn't go after them. What happens today? If a man ends up helping some sisters, Allah protect those sisters. They'll be harassed for life by that brother. Right? But we see here the manhood of Musa a.s., he helped them and he just went back and sat in the shade. He didn't hang out with them. He didn't ask them, so, who are you and where are you from? And nothing like that. You see his haya over here. And then we also see that he accepted the offer of nikah. To who? To a foreigner in a foreign land alone, because it was a very good option. It was a way of preserving his modesty, and also it granted him a very good opportunity. So why not? And then we see over here the terms and conditions that were agreed upon. Musa a.s., he fulfilled them with dignity. And it shows his manhood. فَلَمَّا قَضَى مُوسَى الْأَجَلِ And when Musa had completed the term and was traveling with his family, he perceived from the direction of the mount a fire. He said to his family, stay here. Indeed, I have perceived a fire. Perhaps I will bring you from there some information or burning wood from the fire, that you may warm yourselves. But when he came to it, he was called from the right side of the valley in a blessed spot from the tree, O Musa, indeed I am Allah, Lord of the worlds. And he was told, throw down your staff. But when he saw it moving as if it was a snake, he turned in flight and did not return. Allah said, O Musa, approach and fear not. Indeed, you are of the secure. Insert your hand into the opening of your garment. It will come out white without disease. And draw in your arm close to you as prevention from fear. Meaning whenever you feel afraid, put your hand where? وَضْمُمْ إِلَيْكَ جَنَاحَكَ Bring your hand to yourself. Bring your hand to yourself, either here or here, meaning put your hand on yourself. Draw in your arms when you feel afraid. And you see when you're praying salah, where do you put your hands? On your chest. Right? And literally your fears, your anxieties, it's as if you are, controlling them. You're calming them down. So this is the solution to our fears. This is how we calm ourselves down. وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ For those are two proofs from your Lord to Fir'aun and his establishment. Indeed, they have been a people defiantly disobedient. He said, my Lord, indeed I killed from among them someone, and I fear they will kill me. Musa a.s. doesn't pretend as if he's innocent, he's an angel. What happens to us if we are given a good position anywhere? If someone praises us, we portray ourselves as perfect. Look at Musa a.s. He's saying, Ya Allah, I committed a murder. He remembers his sin, his mistake. And you see a person who's really true to himself, he remembers his mistakes. And he keeps asking Allah for forgiveness. Ya Allah, forgive me. Even though it's been 10 years, 20 years, I know I made that mistake. You forgive me. If you don't forgive me, what's going to become of me? فَأَخَافُ أَن يَقْتُلُونَ I fear that they will kill me. And my brother Harun is more fluent than me in tongue. So send him with me as support, verifying me. Indeed, I fear that they will deny me. Meaning, I can't do this alone. Send a helper with me. Allah said, we will strengthen your arm through your brother and grant you both supremacy, so they will not reach you. It will be through our signs. You and those who you follow will be the predominant. So the key to your victory will be what? What? Our signs. And the fact is that when a person holds on to the Qur'an, then this is what brings him success in this life and the next. And over here we also see that Allah promises them protection. And this protection also comes how? When a person relies upon Allah. When a person holds on to the book of Allah. But when Musa a.s. came to them with our signs as clear evidences, they said, this is not except invented magic, and we have not heard of this religion among our forefathers. And Musa a.s. said, my Lord is most knowing of who has come with guidance from Him. Is it me who has brought guidance, or is it you who is upon guidance? And to whom will be the succession in the home? Meaning, who is it that will survive? Indeed, wrongdoers do not succeed. And Fir'aun said, O eminent ones, I have not known you to have a God other than me. Look at how he's deceiving these people. Then ignite for me, O Haman, a fire upon the clay. Meaning burn bricks of clay. And make for me a tower that's very solid, that I may look at the God of Musa. Make a tower, let me go up and see if there's really a God up there. I know that the only God is me. This is what Fir'aun said. And indeed, I do think he is among the liars. This was what? This was his arrogance. And he was arrogant, he and his soldiers in the land without right. And they thought that they would not be returned to us. So we took him and his soldiers and threw them into the sea. So see, how was the end of the wrongdoers? And we made them leaders, inviting to the fire. And on the day of resurrection, they will not be helped. And we caused to overtake them in this world a curse. And on the day of resurrection, they will be of the despised. Meaning, they're the ones who ultimately suffered here, and in the hereafter, there is only destruction for them, only punishment for them. Now what is mentioned over here, that وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَدْعُونَ إِلَى النَّارِ. We made them leaders, calling people to fire. Fir'aun, Haman was his minister. Right? So Fir'aun and the people who were with him, who were they in reality? They were calling people to fire. Meaning all those who followed Fir'aun were being led to hellfire. And this is something that's very serious. We need to see, who is it that we are following? Who is it that we are following? Who is it that we're going after? The Prophet ﷺ, he said, there will be some people who will lead people according to principles other than my tradition. They will lead others, but they will lead them according to principles that are different from what I have taught. You will see their actions and disapprove of them. Hudayfa radhiyallahu anhu, he said, will there be any evil after that good? The Prophet ﷺ said, yes. There will be some people who will invite others to the doors of hell. And whoever accepts their invitation to it will be thrown in it by them. I said, O Allah's Messenger, describe those people to us. He said, they will belong to us and speak our language. I asked, what do you order me to do if such a thing should take place in my life? He said, adhere to the group of Muslims and their chief. Hudayfa said, if there is neither a group of Muslims nor a chief, what shall I do? The Prophet ﷺ said, keep away from all those different groups. Even if you had to bite, meaning eat, the root of a tree till you meet Allah while you are still in that state. Meaning, do not at any cost follow a leader who is corrupt. Do not at any cost obey someone who is telling you to do something wrong. Even if you have to live alone and you have nothing left to eat but the roots of a tree, then still hold on to your faith and don't compromise on your faith. Why? Because following such people is what? Being led into the hellfire. The Prophet ﷺ also said, there will be leaders whose word will not be refused. Why? Because of their fear. Meaning whatever they order, they will be obeyed. Even if they're giving a command that's clearly wrong. The whole world says it is wrong, but still their people will obey them. Because they're afraid of them. They will be admitted forcefully into the fire. And some will follow others. Meaning the leaders will go into the fire. And who's going to come behind them? Those who obeyed them. Those who followed them. So, this is a warning for us. Never ever follow people blindly. Think about it. What they're telling us to do, does Allah approve of it? Is this something that has room in our religion? If it's something that is acceptable, then okay. But if it's something that's not acceptable in the deen, then don't follow them. And he entered the city. Musa a.s., when he had reached full strength, he was mentally mature, he entered the city at a time of inattention.